This lesson will be rather short. The library that I want to demonstrate is actually quite small, but nonetheless it provides a feature that most likely you will enjoy. Let me open a price session or IRB session. If you have one or the other, just choose whatever you feel most comfortable with. Let's start by requiring digest. Digest is the library that we'll need to require in order to have access to the digest library. Inside the digest library, we have a couple of modules. I'm going to focus on the SHA-1 module. This specific module has a couple of methods. We have the digest method, the hex digest method, and also the base 64 digest method. These three methods will deliver different hashes depending on what string you pass. Oh yes, by the way, each one of these methods takes a string. So let's start with a simple digest of a password. Let's use a digest and type in something like a password. If I press enter, I will get a string like so. You see that this is rather funny. This kind of string is basically a digestion of this password, which results in this following string of characters. It's really awkward. One thing that's very important is that you type the same thing again, you will get the same result. So each different string has a unique digestion procedure. One specific string, no matter how many times it is digested, it will have always the same result. Just by changing the value of the string by one single character, it will give us a totally different value. If I change to password 2, I will get another different string. The same goes for the remaining methods. If I type in the hex digest method, let's just stick to password like so, I will get a string of characters. Remember, passing the same item again, the same string, I will always get the same result. Let's change this back to a different word, and the string will be different. There you go. The same conclusions can be taken with the other method, which is called base 64 digest. If I press enter from here, I will get another different kind of string. So basically, these three different mechanisms resemble three different algorithms. One of them is the standard digest algorithm, the hex digest follows another protocol, and base 64 is yet another one. Remember, the very same thing is achieved with the same string. And if I change it, I will get a totally different string. You won't be able to figure out what is the process or the end result by yourself. You will need this algorithm that's actually very complex. One thing that's very peculiar in regards to this library or the applications for this library is the fact that we want to provide, for example, a timestamp. In regular applications, with security in mind, it is usual to create some sort of a salt. Let's create that salt variable, which can be the current timestamp. Something like this. Or rather, let's figure out the timestamp first as a number and then the string. This is the exact timestamp of this particular point in time. And then you want to use digest :SHA-1 and then whatever algorithm you want to use. I personally like to use hex digest because it's a lot less cryptic than the other two. So I type in my password, let's say for example it is something like this, and I add in that salt. Oh, let's just make sure that I type in that salt in between parentheses. So this is the conjunction of both password and salt. And then I just press enter. I will get a totally different string. Now, if I choose to type in the timestamp directly every time I resort to this method, like so, I will always get a different result. No matter how many times I press it, and I call the function, I will get different results. So I've mentioned the SHA-1 method here. So this is the one module that I've demonstrated, but there are others. For example, the MD5 class also has these methods. The MD5 also has a procedure on how to digest content. If I type in the same password, I will get a different algorithm. If I use hex digest, I will get yet another algorithm, and base64 will also retrieve a different way of retrieving the content. So the MD5 algorithm is distinct from the SHA one, but the digest, hex digest, and base64 digest methods provide the same representation. The algorithm is the one that the class represents, and the digest is actually the format in which it is delivered. These are two of them, so we've covered MD5 and SHA-1. But there's also the SHA-256. It's actually a lot more complex. It has a lot more steps to it. If I type in digest password like so, the string will be a lot larger. Notice the difference between this one and this one? Definitely a lot different, and actually a lot more difficult to decrypt. Virtually impossible, if I say so myself. To learn more about the digest module and all of the different protocols available, check the link in the description. As you can see from the namespace, you have the SHA-2, SHA-1, MD5, and also RMD160. I never even heard of this one. I usually stick to SHA-1. You have different examples in this document, so be sure to take those a look. The fundamental purpose of digest is to mask content, to encrypt content. So be sure to look through the examples to figure out a lot of different use cases for the library.